When a relatively boring and uninspiring journalist from the Herald is trending on Twitter, I want to know why. And Simon Wilson, he of the I love bikes and green things and urban planning and all things woke. Simon Wilson is a journalist for the Herald, and his wife makes or tries to make publicly funded documentaries about the Prime Minister and about Chloe Swarbrick. So she's presumably a Liberal as well. But this pylon's been going on this week as Simon Wilson, senior writer and editor at the Herald, wrote an article published in the Herald, I think it was behind the paywall, which basically lambasted landlords for allowing retail space to remain unoccupied in Auckland's Queen Street. The article was poorly received, I think it would say, by many landowners and landlords across the country, which is why Simon Wilson has been getting a lot of grief. So what did he get so wrong? To find out, we are joined now by Leonie Freeman, who's the Chief Executive of the New Zealand Property Council. She has extensive experience in the New Zealand property industry, having held top positions in both the public and private sector. Welcome to the program.
Kia ora. Thanks very much for having us.
All right. Now, what was for those who haven't read the August pages of the Herald or Simon Wilson's latest musings, what was his proposition?
So Simon had walked up Queen Street and identified that at the moment there's 38 vacant shops. And he feels that this is that the landlords are responsible for this. And I think that, and had a whole lot of ideas, including penalising the landlords for the vacant shops. But I think what's really important to understand is actually how business works and how cities go through stages of redevelopment. And so we've seen this at Britomart, where a bus depot gave way to high fashion. We had Wynyard Quarter, which was an industrial area, which then became residential, office and food. And then more recently, the transformation of downtown into Commercial Bay. And so what happens is when these areas of redevelopment occur, then some retailers will move from places such as Queen Street to these new opportunities. But typically what happens is these areas then get backfilled with other retailers that come in and use it for a different use. But then we had COVID, and COVID accelerated this usual gradual process with the result that we've got a whole lot of vacancy in Queen Street at the moment. And I'm sure, if you thought about it yourself, would you want to open a retail shop in Queen Street in the last 2 years with all the challenges with retail and lockdowns and everything else? So I think that we've got to spare some sympathy for the retail businesses because, they will come back when they're confident that people are back in the city. And
I imagine things like the rail loop are going to reinvigorate as people can more easily move around. That's going to reinvigorate downtown Auckland and the retailers will want to be back there, right?
Absolutely. But while there's been a massive construction, I'm sure you've heard many stories for the retailers up in Albert Street where, they're open, but basically there's construction all around them. So, it's been a really tough time for some of these retail businesses. And at the end of the day, landlords don't want to have their shops vacant, but if you can't get retailers in there, which who would, there's a lot of constraints at the moment, then that's what we've got. But they will come back, and particularly if we can get people back into the city and supporting them.
All right. What did you think about Simon's article? Do you think it was naive, or do you think he's got something against people who have money and own property?
Yeah, I'm not sure because I know Simon and I have some respect for some of the articles he writes, but I think he's misunderstood how business actually works. And, what I would encourage, people to do is to think about what they could do to help the situation. And really what we need to do is encourage people back into the city. So if you work in the city, come back into the office or venture in and go to a cafe or restaurant or support hospitality or cinemas or art galleries or any of the other fantastic things. Because once people are confident and back in the city, then the retailers will come back.
Leonie, those are really good points you make. I'd add in Wellington we've got a massive problem. It seems half our public service buildings are being emptied out because we can't figure out what our earthquake regulations are. So we have real issues.
Yes, Wellington's got some issues as well, and also with the there's some real challenges in that retail space, particularly in your central city areas. So Wellington, Auckland's not alone in this. Wellington has some real challenges in this space as well.
Leonie, the other thing is, in terms of retail and shop frontage, right, more and more people buying online, and of course COVID just exacerbated or accelerated that trend. Is retail ever going to be back to the way it was, or do people who own shop frontage retail space and are letting it out have to appreciate they are not going to get the return on those tenancies that they used to?
So I think what we're seeing is there is quite a significant shift. So what you often find is people will do a lot more online, and some people will purchase online as well. People do a lot of research online and then sometimes want to go into retail premises and into the shops. And what we've found over COVID is that where people can easily go to retail spaces, so, for example, some of the shopping centres have still done very well, as soon as the retail was able to be opened again. So some of the larger shopping centres where people can go, everything's in one place, it's easy to access, they've been doing really well. So I think what we'll see is you'll never see retail die totally, because retail is also about an experience, and a lot of people like to touch and feel and just shop. And but it's about understanding that it's a combination now of online and in person, and I think it's about how you use both opportunities to change your products. But it's also about making it easy for people to be able to get to those places and shop.
Leonie, other question too, given, and I was amazed at the reaction to the Wilson article. It was really powerful across social media and stuff. Do you think Simon needs to write another piece, having done his research and done his homework, that addresses some of the misapprehensions he was under?
Yeah, well, I think that I suppose what I look at, and we've dealt with landlords and tenants for the last 2 years during COVID, and I've known some really, stressed out, challenged people who have, a lot of landlords supported retailers to get through COVID, and a lot of retailers have lost businesses. And so I've heard some terrible stories. So I think it's a bit of a reaction to say, hey, there's got to be a bit of sympathy here for some of those retail businesses who have just, through no fault of their own, forced to close. There's quite a lot have gone out of business. And I ask everyone, would you, because it's easy to point the finger at somebody else and say, should open a shop in Queen Street. But ask yourself, would you at the moment go and open a shop in Queen Street? And if you wouldn't, why not?
I hear. Leonie, thank you so much for your time this morning. Good talking to you. And let's see if Simon Wilson provides some balance